Good afternoon, student. Welcome in the EVVENC Digital Classroom. We are learning Indian economy subject and in which we have started factors responsible for environment pollution, in which we have completed so many topics and we were on the action items, and we have discussed 11 action items and key issues addressed. Now we will learn the 12 action items and related key issues. So the 12th action item is combating climate change. India is one of the world's 10 fastest growing economic countries and is expected to grow at more than 8% for the current decade. India presently ranks first in the world for foreign technology licensing, second in the in terms of availability of the scientists and engineers, ninth in terms of quality of management schools, 12th in terms of firm level innovation, and 16th in terms of firm level innovation as well as firm level technology absorption. Having allowed foreign investment in almost all sectors and having the procedures for repatriation of capital and profits greatly simplified. India is globally perceived to have a favorable investment environment. From the study, it has been found that the climate change policy of the government of India is based on the fact that the primary responsibility of reducing GHG emissions is that of developed countries. They should show a demonstrable uh, sincerity in initiating actions to address climate change. It is also expected that the developed world should transfer resources and technology at favorable terms to the developing world, thereby facilitating developing countries to move towards a sustainable development path. The key issues which must be addressed here are: first, need to identify key vulnerability for India to climate change and its impact, particularly on water resources, forest, and agriculture. Second, organize workshop to disseminate CDM policy in India to policymaker. Third, we can say in India to policymaker, or we can involve project developers and investors. Third, help promote India in industries to participate in the clean development mechanism process. Provide capacity building for identifying and preparing CDM projects by municipal bodies across the country. So these issues must be addressed related to action item 12. Now the action item 13, inventorization of forest resource. Assessing biodiversity of diverse country like India is enormous task. Depiction of ecosystem harboring around 120,000 known plants, microbes and animal, and perhaps another 4 lakh not yet described species is possible with the recent technology advances. Qualitative information on the distribution, status, and utilization of India's biodiversity is important for planning its conservation. While some information exists, it is dispersed widely across the country among a large number of organizations. Moreover, most of it is not easily accessible in readily usable electronic form. So the key issues which are addressed here, first is identify the various biodiversity components. Second, create an inventory of the biological resources available across the country. Third, capture the traditional knowledge available with the tribal, local communities across the forest in India. Fourth, support the national state authority in conserving the forest. Action item 40. It is important to treat biospecting in the context of strong benefit sharing system among industries, firms, the ecosystem and the projected communities in such a manner as that the sharing of knowledge for biospecting will multiply the fennel and floral diversity of the region and enrich the cultural and moral ethic with sustained life support systems. While pharmaceuticals are still the primary use, new uses such as biotechnology in agriculture and cosmetics are also becoming economically important. Biopiracy of a number of high value bioresources comprising mostly medicinal plants and animals has emerged as a major threat to the rich biodiversity of the states as well as the northeast region. The key issues, first, help promote partnership between the local community, forest, government departments, and entrepreneurs. Second, disseminate information on the important biological reserve that are to be conserved. Third, promote research on biological properties that may help the present men. Fourth, capacity building among the forest and other line departments on the issues related to bio, bioprocess, prospecting and biopiracy. If we talk about 15th action item, capacity building. It is found that there is a need to align the development and implementation of new area-wise and or multi-sectorial environmental programs along with the institutional processes. The 73rd and 74th constitutional amendments set into motions the decentralization process and are expected to help in localized environmental management. To implement cross-sectoral integration and coordination for the better environmental management, capacity building at all level has to be undertaken. The key issues related with this action items, first, capacity building of local bodies, local government in implementing issues related to environmental management. Second, capacity building to help improve environmental quality in the industrial estates. Third, to build capacity of regulatory authorities in monitoring environmental quality. Capacity building of all concerned line department on cross-sectoral issue with reference to conservation of environment. Fifth, general environmental awareness campaign for citizens. So these are the different action items and key issues. Now, We are at the end of the chapter. We can say evaluation and recommendation. So, the summary of all the discussion we have made in this chapter. So, we can say that environmental instruments are necessary for implementation of National Environmental Management Plan. A plethora of instruments exist in India which came into being with time. They seem to lack a system to coordinate them. Active deliberation and debate are needed to improve and make them effective. Ecological concerns have been more or less overlooked in most cases of development planning. Though awareness in this regard has steadily grown as a result of international activities as well as the measure taken under the status. The focus is on integration of development planning and environmental concern is needed. In the context of environmental scenario in the country and the available environmental instruments, the issues including the concern and gaps related to the sectors of environment and energy emerge significantly. Their analysis leads to specific action plan in the field of standards for pollution control, implementation of the EIA notification, management of various kinds of waste, promotion of green building and combating climate change. The vision extended to life cycle management in the entire gamut of development activities. Rooted in the Constitution of India, environmental protection is reflected in all the 5-year plans for economic development. Gradually, environment governance has emerged as a key to sustainable development. Environmental management system in India is founded on environmental legislation, development of environmental standard and establishment of institution and instrument for enforcement of law. However, varying interpretation by states and multiplicity of agencies proves to be an impediment in the implementation of environmental programs. Detailed procedures have been introduced for grant of consent of establish and operate a potentially polluting activity and grant of authorization for handling and management of various kind of waste. Such procedures also include assessment of environmental impact and public consultation. There is a significant emphasis on the green cover, air and water quality, cleanliness of the rivers and lakes, clean development mechanism, corporate responsibility in environmental protection, and conservation of natural resources and biodiversity. Special attention is given to critically polluted area which have been identified and to clean development mechanism for which a separate authority has been established. The judiciary has contributed significantly by endorsing environmental protection through many landmark judgments. The industry too has responded voluntarily by adopting corporate social responsibility. Energy and environmental issues are intertwined. In particular, the technology adopted for generation of electric power has specific risks and impact related to environment and has profound effect on sustainability of development. The recent emphasis on energy efficiency has already produced tangible modification in building design and environmental benefits. The concept of solar energy, green building, and coal benefication have reached implementation stage. Ash utilization has significantly reduced the demand of land for ash disposal Advanced technology for generation of power has reduced the emission of carbon dioxide, which is the main greenhouse gas having impact on climate. The key to successful implementation of National Environmental Management Plan is the capacity and coordination of the environmental instruments. Many shortcomings emerge from lack of integration in environmental laws, inadequate strength of certain instruments, gaps in research in the emerging area of biotechnology and bioprospecting, and the need for improvement in public participation. These shortcomings need to be addressed to achieve the desired capacity and coordination of the environmental instrument. So if we evaluate the measure taken by the government for environment protection, we also can discuss that. It would be clear from the above or the study or the discussion uh, that occur in the recent years. The government has taken a number of policy measures for environmental conservation and protection. But still, however, the results are not up to expectation mainly because of the issues like we say the various legislative and economic measures initiated by the government for environmental conservation and protection have not been effectively and efficiently implemented. There appears to be inadequate awareness on the part of the government machineries in this direction. It is therefore necessary that laxity in the implementation of these measures be removed and appropriate step be taken for the study implementation of the various legislative economic measures. Second, many of times wasted interest and political interference in the implementation of the laws cause various handicaps. There appears to be nexus between politicians and bureaucrats, and this needs to be dealt with the, I can say, this needs to be dealt with the an iron hand in an objective manner. Third, there seemed to be a lack of effective and meaningful coordination between different agencies like the central and state government, local bodies, various departments of the government, and the different ministries, etc., in the implementation of environmental protection programs. Likewise, the role of non-government organization, that is NGOs, has not been fully enlisted and appreciated. Okay, so NGOs has not been fully enlisted and appreciated. In fact, some of these organizations are doing pioneering and useful work in this direction in the different parts of the country. Recently, the Nagpur-based Environment Energy Research Institute in its study has observed that many of the existing agencies and institutions working in the field of environmental protection lack adequate knowledge, skills, and expertise besides lack of transparency and accountability. Moreover, these agencies have not proved to be so effective in representing the issues of the role of environmental protection in economic development at the various international forums. It has therefore been suggested to set up an independent and autonomous commissions for environmental and ecology, for environment and ecology. All these points need to be carefully addressed without any further delay in the interest of environmental conservation and protection. So we had here the topic is finished, the environmental problem and its protection as well as industrial pollution. So this topic is completed. We will start our new topic, that is Niti Ayog. So before we start the new topic Niti Ayog, In this lecture, I propose to address the questions like what exactly economic planning means in India, what were the rationale of economic planning in the developing economy like India, what were the main features and objective of economic planning in India. So we start with the planning. So first is the rationale of planning, the rationale for planning. So limitations of the market mechanism. First, the most important rationale for adopting planning is the limitations of the market economy. When India won independence in 1947, it was very backward economically, and the general consensus was that planning was required for the economic development of the country. Relying entirely on the market mechanism, this country could not even hope to come out of the low level equilibrium trap in which it had fallen during the period of its colonial subjugation. The period of its colonial subjugation. The second, the need for social justice. The experience of many free enterprise economies shows that the gains of economic growth do not necessarily trickle down. In fact, market forces operate in such a manner that further concentration of economic power takes place and the growth bypasses those very people who deserve to be helped most. Therefore, planning was advocated in this country for designing poverty alleviation programs, tackling the unemployment problem, and employing human resources in a fruitful manner. The third is resource mobilization and allocation in the context of overall development program. Since India suffered from extreme resource constraints, it had to use the available resources judicially. It was argued that investment projects in this country could not be chosen on the basis of private profitability, as this would have diverted large investment to socially low priority areas. In a society plagued by highly skewed income distribution, competitive markets would have dictated a pattern of investment in conflicts with the overall long-term objectives of the country. In developing countries, the choice of development projects has to be based on social benefits rather than private profitability. The UN Conference on Planning, held in 1965, had recommended adoption of economic planning in underdeveloped countries on similar ground. The UN report asserted it is an integral task of planning to achieve the best possible use of source resources for possible use of scarce resources for economic development. The need for using appropriate criteria for selecting projects accrues because the market prices of such factors of production as labor, capital, and foreign exchange deviated substantially from their social opportunity cost and were not, therefore, a correct measure of the relative scarcity or abundance of the factor in question. D.R. Gadgil had aptly summed up the reason why economic planning was adopted in the developing countries like India in the following words. The words are: planning for economic development is undertaken presumably because the pace development is uh, I have to repeat the words again. The words of Dr. Gadgil, that planning for economic development is undertaken presumably because the pace of direction of development taking place in the absence of external intervention is not considered to be satisfactory, and because it is further held that appropriate external intervention will result in increasing considerably the pace of development and directing it properly. So these are the words of Dr. Gadgil for the reason why economic planning was adopted in the developing countries like India. Now, if we say that what were the features of Indian planning or Indian plans, so the features are, we can see in the next slide, that is indicative economic planning. The Indian plans did not carry an element of compulsion of inevitability as found in the planning of socialist countries. The Indian plan generally laid down targets even for those sectors of the economy over which the government had no control. For instance, practically the whole agriculture sector in India is in private hands, but the government persisted on laying down detailed targets for this sector. However, since the management of farming and other agriculture activities had all along rested in private hands, the government was never too sure of achieving the target laid down in the plan. The main reason for this state of affairs was the presence of the mixed economy. Such a system gives ample incentives to the private capital and uses few control. There is no compulsion or inevitability in any work, though there might be some regulation and regimentations of economic activity. As against the private sector, it is indeed more essential to accomplish the target laid down for the public sector. However, even here there was no compulsion as such. This shows that Indian planning has been indicative economic planning or planning by inducement only. The second feature, that is physical planning. Economic planning may be either physical planning or financial planning. The former implies allocation of resources in terms of man, material, and power of accomplish the target laid down in the plan document. The latter implies the provision of financial resources to make this possible. Both are complementary and proceed side by side in rational planning system. However, both P.C. Mahalanobis and Pitambar Pant, who influenced the framing of the second plan, most were physical planners. They believed that provided the investments were technically feasible, saving ought to be forthcoming somehow. The obviously wrong assumption that what is physically possible is financial possible too resulted in shaping Indian planning primarily as physical planning. The third is Indian planning as social planning. Indian planning has been social planning. India planning has all along focused on social planning rather than pure economic planning. It is precisely and on account of this factor that its economic character became distorted. Because of its social nature, the impact of all those factors that affect politically environment has been very much visible on Indian planning as well. As far as the political environment is concerned, the impact of the capitalist class, the zamindar and the prosperous large farmer has always been very much in evidence. The government policies were formulated keeping the interest of these classes in view. How else can one account for the failure of land reforms, increase in the concentration of wealth and economic power, expansion in the activities of large business houses, etc.? So this is the rationale for planning, and we have learned the features of important features of Indian planning. So what were the objective on which the economic planning were based, that we will learn in the next lecture. The objectives like the long-term objective of economic planning as spelled out in a various plan documents have been or will be discussed as like economic growth, self-reliance, removal of unemployment, reduction in income inequalities, elimination of poverty, modernization and inclusiveness and sustainability of the growth. For these objectives, the economic planning were established. So we will discuss these objectives in the next lecture. Please student, do revise all these topics up to now. I will take your surprise test. When the time will permit me and the situation will permit me, I will take your surprise test as well as multiple choice question I will ask to you. That is the part of our exam.